Welcome back, folks, to the random video blog where every single Friday I, Graham G.S. Matthews, give my rambling thoughts in the wrestling world, share some stories, etc., etc. So, of course, the biggest news story of the week is Daniel Bryan's in-ring retirement. That was supposed to be the topic for today's video. I was thinking about it, but I feel like I already kind of talked about that at length before. Also here in the channel, I talked about it for about a half an hour on Wrestle Rant Radio on Tuesday. For the full episode, you can check out nextairwrestling.net. in the description box down below. But I also posted the clip right here on the channel on Tuesday. I feel like if I talked about it again here, after also talking about it on Twitter and on hashtag AskGSM on Facebook, I feel like I would be beating a dead horse. So I won't be talking about that here today. However, next week here in the video blog, I will be ranking my top 5 favorite Daniel Bryan matches in WWE. So stay tuned until next week for that. This week, however, we are only 2 days away until Valentine's Day. Probably the most controversial holiday on the calendar year because some people love it, some people hate it, obviously depending whether you're in a relationship or not. Me, I really couldn't care less. I'm not in a relationship, but I still love Valentine's Day, nevertheless, like any other day of the year. But regardless, I felt it was fitting that today's video blog marked down my top favorite WWE Divas that I would want to be my Valentine. So, aka my favorite top 5 Divas of all time in WWE. So you might see a few names on here that aren't featured on the list, mostly because I wasn't a fan during that time or whatever reason. Pretty much, I think the entire list here are divas that have been around since I started watching wrestling in 2008. So, don't be shocked if you don't see Trish on here or Lita. I mean, I would love to feature them on here, but I have these other women, these other top 5 divas are bigger priorities because they've been around since I started watching 8 years ago. So, with that being said, let's get down to it. Number 5 is Eve Torres. Eve Torres, as of a number of years ago, was always my second favorite diva. No longer. But she was for a number of years. Even before she went heel, I always enjoyed her work. I thought she was a very good worker. She only got better as time went along. I mean, early on in her career, I could see where the flack came from fans for just being way too generic and just, smiley baby face, way too nice. And then I felt like, and I'm sure many of you agree, she did the best work of her career when she went heel in 2012. Not that it was short-lived, but she was only around for another 9 more months after that, about a year before she left the company in early 2013. She had a very good run as Divas Champion for about 4 months, from late 2012 to early 2013. Had a couple very good matches with Caitlyn, who wasn't the world's greatest worker at all. So Caitlyn also is an honorable mention on this list. I did not put her on here. I probably should have, but I didn't. But she had a couple very good matches with Layla and Caitlyn and a few others as well in that time period. So she comes in at number 5 on my top 5 Valentine Divas list here. Coming in at number 4, I want to double check that this is the right person. It is Paige. I've been a fan of her since her debut in NXT. I was not watching at the time she made her debut. I started watching NXT. I've always been watching NXT since it, debuted 6 years ago on Sci-Fi as the crappy competition show. But I stopped watching when it got revamped in the summer of 2012. I just didn't really have much time for it. Then I got back into it the following summer, and she immediately became one of my favorites. Her personality, her gimmick, if you can really call it that, because it's kind of who she is, stood out from the rest of the women, either on the main roster or in NXT, as kind of the anti-diva gimmick. And granted, she's not really doing that anymore on the main roster. She's on Total Divas and stuff. But she herself, as a 23-year-old, at that time only maybe 20 years old, it was incredible the fact that she had gotten so far in her career at such a young age, and I'm 20 years old, it's crazy to think about. I mean, she's 23 now, but a very good worker. She stood out from the rest, and she was just gorgeous. I feel like I really started getting attracted to her when she made it to the main roster, not just because she had success. I don't know, I felt like she became my favorite at that time when she got called up, won the Divas Championship. I was the happiest person in the world. Probably, honestly enough, truthfully speaking, one of my biggest markout moments of 2014 when she did get called up, the night after WrestleMania, surprisingly enough, and beat AJ Lee, the longest reigning Divas champion in history, broke the record, won the belt her first night in. I marked out. You can ask my whole dorm room freshman year because I marked the fuck out when that happened. I'm sure the whole building heard that one. But yeah, even now in the last couple of months or so, and kind of her annoying side has come out on Tough Enough and on Total Divas. She still remains a favorite of mine. She's still a very good worker, but she's still one of my favorite divas on the WWE roster today. So coming in at number 3 on my top 5 divas that I would want as my Valentine, AJ Lee, who also became a favorite of mine around the time that she got with Daniel Bryan. I mean, that was really the time that she allowed her personality to shine through. I thought her and Daniel Bryan in kayfabe in storyline were a very cute couple. They were perfect for each other as characters. And I thought it really wouldn't go anywhere because before, when they first started dating on WWE TV, Daniel Bryan was just another guy on the roster, despite being Mr. Money in the Bank. But when they paired together and Daniel Bryan won the World Championship and he went heel, I thought it was a thing of beauty almost when they had their relationship. And Daniel Bryan was abusing her, and she would say, "I love you," and she was like enamored with him, and he would go, "I appreciate that." It was great TV. And those two had an ongoing on and off relationship for the remainder of 2012, from when he was World Heavyweight Champion, he was abusing her, to when he lost the World Heavyweight Championship, thanks to her at WrestleMania 28, to her going crazy in the spring of 2012 and almost costing him the WWE Championship on a number of occasions, to her becoming GM and him proposing to her, and then her becoming GM and trying to make his life a living hell for the remainder of the year. It was just great TV and a very compelling storyline that carried on throughout the rest of that year. But just AJ Lee, period, I thought was a great worker. I was very sad to see her retire last year when she did. I mean, essentially, she had done it all. She had won at WrestleMania. She's 2-0 at WrestleMania. She's undefeated. She had a WrestleMania moment a number of times. She's a 3-time Divas champion. Previously held the record for longest reigning Divas champion of all time in almost 300 days or 295 days or something like that before Nikki Bella broke it just recently, a couple of months ago. But she herself was a different kind of beauty, a lot like Paige. I don't know, it's just me, and the next person on this list is the exact opposite, and I'll get to that momentarily. But AJ Lee, for someone of her size, 4 foot something, and she was just, I think she appealed to the fans that, I mean, who didn't like the days of like the big boob divas and the blonde bombshells and stuff, from Ashley to Taryn Terrell to fucking, who was also an honorable mention on this list, by the way. This is not counting TNA Knockouts, by the way. Otherwise, Velvet Sky would probably be number 1 or 2. This is only WWE and NXT. But, yeah, the days of the Ashley Marassos and the fucking Tori Wilsons and the Dawn Maries and whatever. This was a new type of diva that was not only beautiful, and God, you know, we're all jealous of CM Punk for that, for marrying her. But she could also work in the ring, was a great character too as she became over time. So she comes in at number 3. Number 2 on my list, who previously held the slot as my favorite diva of all time for many, many years before getting upstaged by the next person that I'll talk about in a minute or two. And someone else asked me this on #AskGSM, who's your favorite diva of all time? And I said Maurice, and that's who comes in at number 2 on this list. And they asked why, and I just said because she was hot. Really, that's the only reason why I liked her. When I started liking her, when I did around 2008, 2009, when I started watching. I started watching in 08, but I don't really think she became one of my favorites until late 08, early 09. I don't really know what sparked the interest, but simple enough, she was beautiful. The sexiest of sexy, as she would call herself. But I always thought her and Miz were a great couple on television. I mean, they were never really officially a thing. I know her and Teddy DiBiase were an item on WWE TV. And then her and Miz got hooked up in real life and have now since married, which is cool. But I always loved her character. She was a good worker at best, but she always knew how to be just a total bitch. Speaking French to you and just talking trash to you in French and not having you know what she's saying, and her acting like it's a compliment. Like, that type of stuff I thought was great. But yeah, simply enough, she was gorgeous. Easily my favorite, the most beautiful WWE diva since I started watching in 2008. But I'm hoping she makes a one-off return one of these days, since Miz is still with the company. She left the company about 5 years ago, in November of 2011. I think it might have been a mutual thing. She wanted to leave, and they kind of let her go. They weren't really doing much with her. She was on NXT for a while. I was one of the guest hosts, and she was with Ted DiBiase for a little bit before. Or no, they split those two up when he went to SmackDown, so she really wasn't doing much by 2011. But she was my favorite diva of all time. Before we get to this person, the same person who I said last year on the Facebook page who I would want as my WWE Diva Valentine if I could ever have one, NXT women's wrestler, not diva. I know I put diva in the title of this video, but they're all kind of divas. I guess this WWE classifies them. Bayley, the NXT women's champion as of this video. I mean, who knows by NXT TakeOver Dallas. We'll see when she goes up against her mystery opponent. I won't spoil it here. But anyway, Bayley, I fell in love with her the moment I saw her on NXT TV. And right around the time I started watching, she had kind of made her debut. So when I got back into NXT, that's when she started to kind of become a regular on the show, wearing her Cats with Donuts t-shirt. And just, again, a lot like AJ and Paige, the exact opposite of what you would expect from a WWE diva or a women's wrestler in WWE. Not, sexy or hot, but just absolutely adorable, and she's only grown on me over time with just her great hugging gimmick, and that's just a naturally positive, optimistic, beautiful human being that she is. The hashtag Ultimate Crush, as they've put on Twitter many times, but just seeing her come up short time and time again of winning the NXT Women's Championship, and special after special after special before finally capturing the gold. When I was there in NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, my favorite match that I've ever seen live, and probably, I don't know if it upstages John Cena and CM Punk from the 2011 Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I think that remains to be seen even many months later, but it's definitely my second favorite match of all time. Easily my favorite match of 2015, that goes without saying. At NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, I was there, and one of the many reasons I decided to go, because I knew that was probably going to be happening, and the match itself was just amazing. The moment of her winning the championship was just unreal, and she's had a great reign for herself over the past couple of months, knocking off the likes of Eva Marie, Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss, soon to be Carmella. We shall soon see. Absolutely love Bayley. I think she'll be just fine on the main roster when she gets called up, and just the epitome of what I would want for a Valentine in a WWE Diva, women's wrestler, whatever. So hopefully we see her then after WrestleMania. That's what I've been saying for a while now, unless they want to keep her down there to kind of build the NXT women's division, but she should have been called up a while ago, but they're still kind of rebuilding that division with the likes of Eva and Nia and Carmella and Asuka and many others, Emma and Dana Brooke. So hopefully we see her then after WrestleMania. Fingers crossed. So that's my list for my top 5 divas that I would want as a WWE Diva Valentine or women's wrestler, what have you. I want to know what your guys' list are. Like I said, my honorable mentions included Velvet Sky, if we're talking TNA here, Taryn Terrell, Caitlyn, Lita as well. But yeah, those are my list. That's my list right there. I want to hear what your guys' list is. Tweet me on the Twitter at WrestleRant. You can leave a comment down below in the comment section or find me on Facebook. Give the page an old thumbs up at facebook.com/graham.jason.matthews. And that's about it, guys. Enjoy Valentine's Day on Wednesday, or rather on Sunday. Today is Wednesday as I'm filming this. This is going up on Friday. I'm getting my days mixed up here. Or not enjoy the day. Just have it be any other ordinary day. If you're with a significant other, enjoy it. Have a great day. If not, have a great Sunday, whatever it might be. Just keep in mind we are only 1 week away from Fastlane on Sunday. Looking forward to it. And as I said at the start of the video, next Friday's video blog hopefully will be my top 5 favorite WWE Daniel Bryan matches of all time. So until then, guys, have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy Valentine's Day on Sunday. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.